They place a lien on the house, I finished, feeling a cold fury rise within me. They want to force me, fine me, lien my house, all because my grass is 1/3 of an inch too tall? Oh no, 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 this means war. George, Lisa warned, don't do anything crazy. Crazy? I scoffed. Lisa, we passed crazy 3 violation notices ago. This calls for something strategic, something meticulous, something that says exactly what I think of Dolores, her ruler, and Bylaw 14C. It all started with that damned certified letter. You know the kind. Thick, creamy envelope, feels important, smells vaguely threatening, costs $5 extra just so they can prove you received the bad news. It's never a surprise inheritance or a fan letter. It's always jury duty, tax audits, or in the hallowed grounds of Lakewood Estates, official correspondence from the Homeowners Association Committee for the Elimination of Joy and Spontaneity, or whatever they call themselves this week. I slid it open with a butter knife, a familiar sense of weary dread washing over me. Inside, gleaming under the kitchen lights like a freshly polished tombstone, was violation notice hash HOA 14 CG 734. Subject, non-compliance with mandated turf height. Oh, for crying out loud. Again? I scanned the dense paragraphs, the bureaucratic jargon swimming before my eyes like alphabet soup stirred by a particularly pedantic demon. Then I found it. The meat of the matter. The core transgression. The crime against suburban decency I had apparently committed. I carried the letter into the living room where Lisa, my partner in life and occasional witness to my HOA-induced meltdowns, was wrestling with what looked like a sentient blob of sourdough starter. "Lisa," I announced, my voice tight with forced calm. "Prepare yourself. The Lakewood Estates Aesthetic Enforcement Division has struck again." She looked up, wiping a streak of flour from her cheek. Her eyes held that familiar, "Oh no, what now?" expression. "Don't tell me," she sighed. Did the squirrels file a complaint about the bird feeder placement again? Or did Dolores decide your mailbox is emitting non-conforming light reflections? "Worse," I declared, holding up the letter like evidence in a cosmic trial. According to this meticulously documented report, our lawn specifically, brace yourself, the northeast quadrant was observed yesterday afternoon between the highly suspicious hours of 2:17 p.m. and 3:04 p.m., exhibiting flagrant disregard for Bylaw 14C. Lisa stopped kneading the doughy monster. "Flagrant disregard? What did the grass do? Stage a protest? Refuse to salute the flag?" She paused. "We don't have a flag." "Worse," I repeated, building the suspense. It had the audacity, the unmitigated gall to grow. Apparently, Dolores Rumsfeld, HOA president, chairwoman of everything important, and possessor of eyes that could measure gravitational anomalies, was out conducting field reconnaissance, armed, I can only assume, with a laser interferometer and possibly backup from NORAD. I took a deep breath. She measured multiple blades of grass in the offending quadrant. I let the silence hang for a dramatic beat. Average height observed, 3.1 inches. Lisa blinked. 3.1? So, I said, tapping the crucial line in the letter, it exceeds the maximum permissible height of 2.75 inches, as mandated by the sacred texts, by a whopping 0.35 inches. She stared at me, then burst out laughing. 0.35 inches? That's not even a centimeter. It's like the thickness of 3 credit cards. She measured your lawn down to the 100th of an inch, documented it, and sent you a certified letter about it. And, I added, reading the final paragraph with grim satisfaction, demands immediate remediation. That's grass guillotining in HOA speak within 5 business days to avoid penalties. Penalties. Lisa, they want to fine me because my grass is slightly taller than a golf green. What's next? Fines for breathing too loudly? Now, let me be clear. I'm not a lawn slob. I like things reasonably neat. I mow, I edge, sometimes I pull the occasional weed. But I draw the line at obsessive, chemically fueled, sterile perfection. My lawn philosophy is simple. Keep it healthy, keep it alive, keep it reasonably green. Scalping it down to 2 3/4 inches every damn week? That's not healthy. It stresses the grass, invites weeds, requires way more water, and generally makes the lawn miserable. I prefer a slightly longer cut, around 3 inches, maybe 3 1/4 if I'm feeling rebellious. It's better for the roots, better for water retention, and frankly, feels nicer when you walk on it barefoot, which is one of life's simple pleasures Dolores seems determined to regulate out of existence. Plus, I'd overseeded with microclover, tiny little nitrogen-fixing powerhouses that stay green even when it's dry, choke out weeds, and feed the damn bees, for crying out loud. Does Dolores appreciate this ecological sensitivity? Of course not. To her, clover is basically a 4-leaf communist invasion, a direct threat to the fescue-dominated hegemony that defines Lakewood Estates. Our neighborhood isn't just houses. It's a fiercely defended monoculture, both botanically and, it often feels, ideologically. My slightly diverse, slightly shaggier lawn? An eyesore, a rebellion, a clear sign that civilization was crumbling, one untrimmed blade at a time. This 0.35-inch violation wasn't the first volley, of course. Oh no. We'd had the passive-aggressive flyers left discreetly tucked in the mailbox slot, extolling the virtues of consistent turf height for optimal visual harmony. We'd endured the pointed comments shouted across driveways about dandelions possessing shocking reproductive capabilities. We'd survived the great edging incident of 23, where Dolores left a laminated, CAD-drawn diagram on my porch illustrating, with millimeter precision, the required 90-degree vertical cut where lawn meets concrete. I half expected her to start issuing demerits for improper dew patterns, but this? Measuring grass blades? Documenting a 0.35-inch overage? Sending it via certified mail? This felt personal. This felt like she was actively looking for a fight. So, Lisa asked later, watching me pace the kitchen floor like a caged tiger whose cage was just slightly too small, according to Bylaw 8F. What's the plan, General George? Launch a dandelion counteroffensive? Deploy the gnomes? Humor, I declared, stopping my pacing, and obfuscation. My weapon shall be meticulously researched, passive-aggressive correspondence. My resulting letter to the HOA board was, if I do say so myself, a thing of beauty. I questioned the precise methodology of the measurement. Was a calibrated instrument used? What was the margin of error? Was the measurement taken at peak turgor pressure, or during a period of relative dehydration? Had parallax error been accounted for? I inquired about the potential impact of localized soil compaction variations and subtle gravitational anomalies on blade verticality. I subtly suggested that focusing on fractions of an inch might be diverting valuable committee resources from more pressing issues, like the alarming proliferation of unharmonious garden gnomes on Lot 23, Barry's house, naturally. The response was swift, predictable, and utterly devoid of humor. Violation, notice hash HOA N14. CG 735 arrived 2 days later, noting my failure to address the core compliance issue and informing me that a $50 fine had been levied against my account. Subsequent fines would accrue daily. Right. So much for reason. Fine. If they wanted compliance, I'd give them... Well, something that looked like compliance from certain angles. I tried mowing. I really did. I set my mower to the lowest possible setting that wasn't actual dirt scraping. The result? A sad, scalped-looking lawn that yellowed almost immediately and felt crunchy underfoot. And did it satisfy Dolores? Of course not. A week later, another notice. This time, accompanied by Exhibit B, a blurry close-up photo. Turf exhibiting signs of stress due to improper mowing height, I read to Lisa, my voice tight. Furthermore, blade tip uniformity inconsistent, suggesting dull mower blades or improper technique. Remediation and professional consultation recommended. Additional fine, $75. She complained that you cut it too short after complaining it was too tall? Lisa asked incredulously. Is she grading your mowing technique now? Apparently, I threw the letter down. There's no winning. It's not about the grass height, it's about control. She wants absolute, unquestioning obedience. I tried calling her again, hoping against hope. It went about as well as negotiating with a particularly stubborn brick wall. George, she'd said, her voice radiating smug certainty. The guidelines exist for a reason. Uniformity, predictability, it protects our property values. 2.75 inches, it's not difficult. But it is difficult, Dolores, I argued, trying to keep my voice level. It requires constant mowing, stresses the grass, uses more water. It's not even good horticultural practice. We are not discussing horticultural practice, George, she replied coolly. We are discussing compliance. And frankly, your attitude is becoming quite non-compliant. The situation devolved further. Dolores took to performing drive-by assessments, sometimes even stopping her car, getting out, and peering intently at my lawn, occasionally brandishing her ruler like a dueling pistol. I saw her once, crouched down near the sidewalk, appearing to measure the angle of the grass blades relative to the curb. I wouldn't have been surprised if she'd started taking core samples. The fines piled up. The certified letters kept coming, each more ominous than the last. Whispers followed me when I checked the mail. Barry across the street started actively avoiding my gaze. I felt like a pariah, a lawn delinquent in a world obsessed with perfect stripes and razor edges. Then came the certified letter to end all certified letters. Thick, heavy. Bearing the imprint of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, the legal sharks the HOA kept fed on a steady diet of non-compliant homeowners. This wasn't a violation notice. This was a formal notice of intent to enforce covenants via remedial action and potential lien. I scanned the dense legalese, my blood running cold. They had voted. They were invoking Bylaw 28F. They had scheduled Emerald Enforcement Landscaping, your lawn, our command, to arrive the following Tuesday. Their crew would forcibly enter my property, correct my lawn to their exacting standards, which probably involved napalm and astroturf, and bill me an estimated $500 for the privilege. Failure to pay would result in a lien on my house. A lien on my house. Because my grass was fractionally too tall. That was it. The line hadn't just been crossed, it had been obliterated by a precision-guided lawnmower. They want to force entry, mutilate my lawn, and charge me a king's ransom for it. I raged to Lisa that night, pacing like a caged beast. All because Dolores Rumsfeld has a pathological obsession with fractions of an inch and the color beige? This is madness, utter madness. George, Lisa said quietly, putting a hand on my arm. Maybe just let them do it? Pay the fine? It's not worth losing the house over. No, I said, stopping dead in my tracks. My mind felt strangely calm, chillingly clear. The fury had burned away, leaving behind a cold, hard core of resolve. No. They want compliance? They want perfect trimming? They want uniformity? I walked over to the window, looking out at the dark expanse of my lawn under the moonlight. A canvas. A very large canvas. Oh, I'll give them compliance. I'll give them trimming so precise, so uniform, so communicative. They'll need a satellite to fully appreciate it. Lisa stared at me. What are you talking about? I turned, a slow, dangerous grin spreading across my face. I'm talking about landscape architecture, my dear. Performance art. Malicious compliance elevated to an orbital perspective. The planning phase began immediately. Forget passive-aggressive letters. This required logistics. First, reconnaissance. I spent hours on Google Maps and Earth, studying satellite imagery of my property, calculating dimensions, figuring out the optimal orientation for maximum visibility. My corner lot was perfect, offering a large, uninterrupted rectangle of green. Next, the design. It had to be simple, bold, instantly recognizable, and, of course, deeply offensive to Dolores and her ilk. The universal symbol of disgruntled defiance was the obvious choice. I used some basic graphic design software to overlay the image onto the satellite map of my lawn, tweaking the proportions until they were just right. Then, the methodology. How to create the image using only lawn care techniques. Digging it up was too obvious, too destructive. Painting it was temporary and likely a violation itself. Differential mowing height was the key. Subtle, elegant, and, most importantly, technically compliant with the trimming mandate. The main background grass would be kept at my preferred 3-ish inches, but the design, the glorious, soaring finger and accompanying anatomical structures would be meticulously maintained at exactly 2.75 inches. Dolores could measure it until her ruler melted. It would be perfect. The slight height difference would create a subtle contrast in color and texture, almost invisible from ground level but glaringly obvious from directly above. The execution required tools and precision. My old push mower wasn't going to cut it. Literally. I invested in a high-quality, gas-powered reel mower known for its precise adjustable cutting height. Then came the really nerdy part. GPS. I bought a handheld mapping GPS unit, the kind surveyors use, and spent a weekend painstakingly walking the grid I'd designed digitally, planting tiny, color-coded stakes, the kind used for marking utility lines, easily plucked out after mowing, at key coordinates. My lawn looked like it was preparing for a very strange game of Battleship. Lisa watched this process with a mixture of fascination and horror. Are you sure the neighbors aren't going to think you finally snapped and are trying to contact aliens? She asked, as I carefully placed stake G7. Let them, I muttered, concentrating on the GPS reading. The message isn't for them. It's for higher powers, like Google's satellites, and Dolores's blood pressure. Then began the mowing, the long, slow, meticulous sculpting. Twice a week, sometimes 3, I was out there. Not just mowing in straight lines, but carefully following the curves and angles of my gridded design. The reel mower whirred precisely. I'd cut the finger sections down to 2.75 inches, feeling a thrill of subversive joy with every pass. Then I'd adjust the height slightly and cut the background areas, leaving them just that crucial half-inch longer. It was painstaking work. It required intense concentration, and it had to look normal. I developed complex, overlapping mowing patterns to disguise the underlying image from casual observation. I whistled nonchalantly. I waved politely at neighbors. I even endured Dolores's drive-by inspections, sometimes inviting her over to measure the compliant sections herself. My, George, she conceded one afternoon, withdrawing her ruler from a patch of perfectly trimmed 2.75-inch grass within the design's border. You certainly seem to have taken the committee's feedback to heart. Much improved, much more uniform. Just doing my part for community harmony, Dolores. I beamed back, secretly thrilled. She hadn't noticed a thing. The camouflage was working. Weeks turned into months. Spring turned into summer. I kept mowing the pattern. Fertilized strategically to enhance the subtle color contrast. Pulled weeds from the 2.75-inch sections with religious fervor. My lawn, from the street, looked immaculate, if perhaps a little geometrically interesting in its texture. But the giant hidden message remained, patiently waiting for its celestial audience. The waiting was the hardest part. Google Earth updates its imagery on its own enigmatic schedule. It could be weeks, months, even longer. Every morning I'd check the satellite view online, my heart giving a little jump, only to be met with the same old image from last year. The anticipation gnawed at me. Would the contrast hold? Would the pattern be clear enough? Would anyone even notice when the update finally happened? Then, one unremarkable Tuesday morning in late August, it happened. I was having my second cup of coffee, procrastinating on a work project by doing my daily Google Earth ritual. Typed in the address, zoomed in. And there it was. The image was startlingly clear, sharp, undeniably new. The sun angle was perfect, and emblazoned across my lawn, rendered in two distinct, scientifically validated shades of green, was a middle finger the size of a small bus, pointing with glorious, unambiguous defiance directly towards the Lakewood Estates clubhouse, and more specifically, Dolores Rumsfeld's meticulously organized life. I choked on my coffee. A slow, wide grin spread across my face, a feeling of pure, unadulterated triumph washing over me. It had worked. It was magnificent. "Lisa!" I bellowed, practically falling out of my chair. "Get in here, right now! Mission accomplished! The eagle has landed, or rather the bird has been mowed!" She ran in, thinking the house was on fire. I pointed wordlessly at the screen. Her eyes widened. A hand flew to her mouth. Then she doubled over, laughing uncontrollably. "Oh my God, George, you crazy, brilliant lunatic. You actually did it. It's glorious." We spent the next 20 minutes just staring at it, zooming in, zooming out, cackling like mad scientists who had finally perfected their suburban doom ray. News travels fast in the digital age, especially news involving giant lawn-based insults visible from space. I don't know who spotted it first after me. Maybe some random map enthusiast, maybe a pilot comparing charts, maybe Barry's tech-savvy nephew. But by lunchtime, the screenshot was ricocheting around local social media. "Anyone else see this in Lakewood Estates?" read the Reddit post, arrows pointing helpfully to my property. "HOA dispute gone nuclear?" My phone started vibrating off the hook. Text messages, missed calls, Facebook tags. The neighborhood Facebook group exploded into a frenzy of speculation. Blurry phone pictures taken from the street, showing nothing, of course, and arguments about property values versus freedom of expression, lawn-based. People started driving by my house slowly, necks craning, trying to reconcile the normal-looking lawn in front of them with the orbital obscenity on their phones. I saw Gary from the HOA committee parked down the street, just staring at my house with a look of utter bewilderment. And Dolores. Oh, Dolores. Cheryl, my sensible board member informant, texted me later. Apparently, someone had gleefully screenshotted the Google Earth image and emailed it directly to the entire HOA board with the subject line, "Regarding Lot 47's bylaw compliance." Dolores had reportedly opened the email during a committee discussion about acceptable mailbox flag colors, let out a sound Cheryl described as a cross between a strangled teapot and a collapsing nebula, and promptly fainted. An emergency Zoom meeting was convened that evening. Dolores, having been revived, presumably with smelling salts and a stern lecture about maintaining composure, appeared on screen, her face a terrifying mask of crimson fury. According to Cheryl, she spent 10 minutes shrieking incoherently about lawsuits, vandalism, public indecency, lawn-based, and possibly treason, demanding my immediate expulsion from the community, my lawn forcibly paved over, and my name stricken from all records. The other board members were apparently paralyzed by a combination of fear and suppressed laughter. "But Dolores," Cheryl finally managed to interject calmly, "what bylaw has he actually violated? The artwork? It's meticulously trimmed to the required height. Technically, he's in full compliance with 14C. "It's a giant middle finger!" Dolores screamed, rattling the webcam. "Yes," Cheryl conceded thoughtfully, "but is there a rule against artistic interpretation of lawn maintenance visible only via commercial satellite imagery?" Silence. Followed by Barry mumbling something about maybe needing to form a subcommittee to investigate high-altitude landscaping regulations. The HOA was utterly, gloriously powerless. They couldn't fine me for following their rules, no matter how creatively I interpreted them. Naturally, I played the innocent card. When confronted by bewildered neighbors or the occasional brave or foolish reporter from the local paper who showed up, I expressed profound shock and confusion. "A middle finger on my lawn? Visible from space?" I'd gasp, widening my eyes in mock horror. "Good heavens, are you quite sure? Must be some sort of optical illusion. Perhaps a fungus? Or maybe those darn geese flying in formation again. Though," I'd add thoughtfully, stroking my chin, "I have been exceptionally diligent about my mowing patterns lately, ensuring strict adherence to the HOA's 2.75-inch trimming mandate. Precision is key, you know. The HOA never bothered me about my lawn again." Dolores resigned from the presidency shortly thereafter, citing irreconcilable differences with certain astronomical phenomena, and sold her house to a lovely family who immediately painted their mailbox bright purple. The giant finger stayed proudly displayed for the rest of the season, a silent, verdant monument to the absurdity of it all, before the fall growth and winter dormancy finally blurred its edges. Sometimes, even now, I pull up the archived satellite view on my computer. There it is, my fleeting masterpiece of malicious compliance. Lisa just shakes her head when she catches me looking. "Still admiring your contribution to cartography?" she asked last night, handing me a beer. "Just appreciating a well-trimmed lawn, dear," I replied, taking a long, satisfying sip and zooming in one last time. "Exactly. As requested. Perfect."